Hello everyone, and welcome to Tower Factory by Gius Caminiti. Tower Factory is a very interesting hybrid game that is one part automation and one part tower defense. So, while you are trying to build machines to collect various resources from the board, you are also going to be under attack from a bunch of monsters that come along the path, and you're going to have to use those resources to build a bunch of defensive towers to fend them off. And what is really interesting about the game is that the player is going to be called upon to do both of those tasks simultaneously, and that is going to make you multitask like crazy. And all of this is while the game does not allow you to pause. So that means we are going to have to know what we are doing when we actually go into play a game. So what I'm going to take a look at now is I'm going to go through the tutorial with an eye towards the attention to the kind of details that are going to tell us exactly how we're going to want to develop our automation to make everything as efficient as possible so that we can actually defend. Let's take a look. Alright, here is our giant light tower in the middle. And thank goodness you're here. Some wicked wizards have built a fortress in this area, and they'll soon start attacking us. I guess that's what wicked wizards do. We need you to build a factory, defend the light tower, and locate the enemy fortress to destroy it. It's not an easy task, but we must try. Let's start with something basic. Press WASD to move the camera. Alright. And press the mouse wheel and move the mouse sideways to rotate the camera. Okay, here we go. So what it looks like we have here is we have a path back from the fog of war leading up to our tower. That's where the bad guys are going to come from. And we do seem to start with a pair of defensive towers already, but more notable is that this tower appears to have 3 ways that we can move resources in. So since this game is very much a game of speed, we're going to want to make sure to utilize all of them and not, get tunnel vision into building all our automation on one side of it while the other side of it is sitting idle. Alright, let's get some wood, although for now you'll have to use your hands. Come on, click on a tree until you have 25 wood. Alright, we've got some wood showing up over here. And it looks like these nodes start with 250 wood. And we can get wood a little faster if I just click instead of holding it down, but I mean, it gets a little tiring to do that. Now that we have enough wood, let's purchase some basic machinery. Open the shop with the Q key, or the little shop icon. Buy the wood chopper and place it near some trees. Here's our wood chopper. And left click to buy, right click to cancel, and R to rotate. So let's flip this around to point at our castle. I'm gonna set it right here. Now that we have enough wood, let's purchase some basic machinery. Okay, and the wood chopper is already extracting wood from nearby trees. Okay, now purchase some conveyor belts and create a path from the wood chopper to the light tower to automate the wood extraction. Okay, looks like the conveyor belts transports resources, 120 resources per minute. So that is going to mark a limit as to how quickly we can get things into each of these nodes. We can get 120 things into our tower per minute. Alright. Perfect. You've automated your first wood chopper. Now that you know everything you need, purchase a stone miner and automate stone extraction. Okay, so here's some stone for us. And love to build it, but we can't. It looks like we're going to need wood, so we got to let him finish his job, and we're going to need 5 stone. So let's go ahead and do the same thing. Now, right away, you're going to want to notice a couple things. One, it takes 3 hits to get every stone. That is much harder to mine than wood. And another thing you'll notice is that these nodes start with 750, whereas the wood only has 250. So these are basically giant stone nodes instead of smaller wood nodes. We're going to make use of that information in a little bit. All right, conveyor belt. Voila. And we're going to have some coming in. Now, the first thing I'm going to kind of point out is because these stone nodes are not as common as wood. It looks like we've got like 13 or so wood going around here, but we only have 3 stone nodes even in eyeshot, and this one, quite frankly, is a little far away. So that means when you're extracting, you're probably going to want more than one stone miner applied to each stone node just to get that harvested more quickly. Whereas the wood choppers, you can spread out. So, you know, one here to address these. You're going to want to put one here later on, something like that. All right, very good, very good. You've automated stone and wood extraction, but we're going to need much more, much more. Build more wood choppers and stone miners in order to gather 100 wood and 50 stone. You can buy a combiner to merge multiple conveyor paths onto a single one. All right, so we're gonna need a bunch more stuff. Now, the first thing to note is that we do have 3 inputs, so let's do our best to utilize each and every one. So I'm gonna throw a wood chopper here and get that into our, not quite where I wanted to turn it, but that's okay. All right, so that's going in. Probably, yeah, let's throw a stone at this as well. Oh, we're out of wood. You know what? I'm going to throw another wood down first. I think, let me throw it down right here. We're going to need to up our wood production anyway, so. And now it's time to start using these combiners. Combines the output of 3 conveyor belts into one. So can rotate it to point towards the castle. And now these 2 are both feeding. Oh, this thing is backwards. There we go. Both of these are feeding into this one. And we're a little behind on wood, so I think I'm actually gonna, you know what? Nothing's stopping us. Let's throw another one out here. Alright, so we got 2 wood going in there, a wood and a stone going in here. I had wanted to... Oh, still not enough wood. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, we can throw down directly into a combiner like this. Yep, there's the stone and the wood coming out. Alright, so while we're gathering, and now the pace should be pretty good, I want to take a moment to point out something else that we're going to need to make note of. If you take a look at the stone miner, they harvest at a pace of 20 per minute. And if you compare that to the wood chopper, these guys harvest 30 per minute, so they are faster than wood. Not by very much, but just enough so that it's notable. Now, the more important thing is that if we consider what we saw from the wood nodes is that they are 250 in size, well, that means a wood node is going to be harvested at 30 per minute. That's going to take 8 minutes and a third, so 8 minutes and 20 seconds, for a single wood node to be completely harvested. Now, if we compare that to the stone is going to be, well, it started at, we've been harvesting away at this one, but it starts at 750, and it's only going to be harvested by a single stone at a pace of 20 per minute. So what that means is that's going to be 37.5 minutes to clear the node. So if you kind of want to plan ahead, what that means is each of your wood choppers is probably going to want to be responsible for 2 tree nodes. That'll be 8 minutes apiece, so they'll be running at 16 minutes and change. And whereas each of your stone nodes, you're going to be doing that backwards. You're actually going to want 2 stone miners for each one, because the normal pace is it would take 37 minutes for one miner to clear it out, but with 2 of them, it's going to cut that in half to about 18 minutes or so. So that way, your pace of wood and stone clearance is going to be matched up if you do it that way. So each of the stone nodes probably wants a second one. I'm just going to represent. Throw that down. There we go. So now if you take a look at this setup, this is actually a pretty good early setup. We've got 3 things going into this combiner and all of it going in. We've got another 3 here. We've only got 2 here, so I'm probably going to build something there in a moment. Oh no! The wizard has detected our presence and has started sending his troops. Purchase 2 acorn cannon towers and place them near the path quickly. Alright, so time for some towers. Here's our acorn cannon. The perfect antidote to what ails us. And what seems to be attacking us right now is a bunch of super happy mushroom people. They look like they are having so much fun getting blasted by acorns. That's good, that's good. Well, you know, after all, they're fungi. That's how it works. Alright, we have the enemies under control, but more will surely come soon. It's a good time to start scouting the enemy fortress. Let's build a bonfire to clear some fog. Okay. Build a bonfire. Build a bonfire. Alright, so now you can see a little bit further, so that means this guy's going to start shooting up there sooner. Okay, so we have plenty of defense, but want to take a look to make sure we understand what's going on with this acorn tower. You have 6 damage over an attack speed of 2 seconds, so this thing is going to be doing 3 DPS. It's got a range of 4.5, which that's our circle, and it can target ground and flying units. So we have some ground units here. I guess at some point we're going to see some flyers. Hopefully the flyers are following the path just like these guys are. This is going to be important. Damage against health is normal, but damage against armor is low, half damage, and damage against shield is low. So these mushroom guys, they appear only to have health. They don't seem to have any armor or shield, so these acorn cannons are going to do perfectly well against them. But we want to note that our towers here are not great if these enemies become a little more tanked up. Now, these towers can have a target priority set. Right now, the default is to hit the most forward enemy. Now, this is another important aspect of tower defense, and what a general rule of thumb is that all of this is a matter of damage per second, and that means there's 2 sides to the equation. There's the damage that you do, and there's the amount of time during which you're doing it. So one of the things that you can do to set up the towers for a little more success is that rather than having everything gun for the frontal enemy, the first thing in line, and have everyone focus fire, if you do that, what ends up happening is this thing is going to die as soon as possible, possibly before reaching very far into the other towers. So what's going to happen is that over time is going to mean that your back towers are actually not doing anything for a period of time, which is not what we want. So in order to kind of avoid that problem, your frontal units should be focusing on high health things so that they're basically smoothing the damage over time, and that way what is going to happen is that these enemies are going to indeed reach the back, but they're going to reach the back in a very wounded state, so these guys can finish them off. So like I said, this is a very general rule. Obviously this path is going to get a whole lot more complicated in an actual game, but you want to set your frontal ones to smooth damage while you want to set your back ones to actual kills, because if anything gets close enough, then there is a potential danger. So we're going to look for something that makes it attack things of low health. So this is target enemies with less health, armor, and shields. All right, perfect. And we'll do that with you as well. So if multiple things get into the back, they'll focus fire something down, so fewer things will break through. All right. Now that we have our bonfire, it seems the wizard didn't like that at all, and he will soon send stronger enemies. You'll need to produce a sawmill and produce wooden planks in order to stop him. Alright, sawmill. Here we go. I'm gonna throw it down here for a second, just so we can take a look at this thing. Let me throw it right here. Okay. Now, the sawmill is the first example of a more advanced building, and what that thing does is it is capable of making wooden planks and wooden stakes. Right now, the game wants us to make planks. So wooden planks have an input of 4 wood in order to produce 1 wooden plank, and it's capable of doing it at a pace of 15 per minute. So this lends itself to a very important idea. in order to make this sawmill produce as fast as possible, we are going to need to feed it so that it can produce all 15 per minute, which means that it's going to need 4 wood for each of those and a total of 60 wood per minute. But if you remember, the wood choppers are only kicking out 30 wood per minute. So that means it is very important that in order to fully utilize each of our sawmills, we actually are going to need to feed them with 2 wood choppers. And you will note that it is possible to send these harvesters directly into a combiner without needing conveyor belts. That is allowed. But we are going to need a conveyor belt to kick out the plank. Alright, so what we have done is we've assigned 2 of these into the sawmill, and that way the sawmill is producing at maximum speed. And what you do not want to do during the game is you don't want to get pressured into producing planks quicker, which of course you do, but if you just put 1 chopper and 1 sawmill and you think, well, that's not fast enough, and then you build another chopper and another sawmill, what you've actually done is you've just produced 2 half-speed sawmills instead of a full-speed sawmill, which is what you want to do. So that's one thing to understand about turning these wood into the more advanced pieces. Another thing that is going to be important is be very careful about doing something like this. I think to myself, hey, I want more wooden planks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw another sawmill right here, right? Perfect. But what you've done is you've kind of hijacked your old wood chopper, something that was producing wood. Okay, we have an absurd amount because I'm actually tutorializing while I do this. But you have just kind of hijacked your wood production, and you are kicking out planks faster, but you kind of need to note that as an aside, you've lowered your wood production if this is what you did. So when you're building sawmills, be very careful about, hijacking too many of your old pieces. So, just to make this super thorough, I'm going to throw out another one right there. Alright, we'll get rid of these. There we go. So now this is producing an absurd amount of wooden planks. At last, we can build a ballista. This tower has a damage bonus against armor, the yellow bar, so it's perfect against the crabs, which I guess we're going to be seeing. There's one. Go ahead and throw out a ballista, who is promptly shooting him, and look, if you take a look, he's doing a pretty big chunk. Yeah, so these guys, in comparison, the ballista are much bigger than the acorn towers. They shoot for 20 damage, but it takes them 5 seconds to reload, so this is a 4 DPS tower versus a 3 DPS tower, so they are stronger. But the most important thing is, whereas they do normal damage to health, they now do double damage against armor. So that means we want to set any ballista that we build into an armor focus first. That pretty much is, I mean, I don't really see anything else being a very viable way to do it. Now, there is another thing to note about the way the ballistas are designed. They do have higher DPS, so they are more desirable. But they do come with a very important downside. Because they're so slow and they do such a big damage in one chunk, they are very prone to the problem of overkill. So for example, if you've got a bunch of little mushrooms walking around with 3 or 4 health and it gets shot by a ballista, you've basically wasted all of that damage. So in addition to prioritizing for armor, the other thing that we're very much going to want to do with ballista is we're going to want to prioritize high health. And so whereas the health priority on these acorns was because they were sort of our frontmost unit at the time, while we build out during a game, you're going to want to shift that priority to the more frontal units that you design. But whereas ballista are pretty much built to be armor killers specifically. Alright, now we can resume the search for the enemy fortress. Build more bonfires along the path until you find it. So we're looking for the big, ugly purple thing. Throw out some bonfires. Here's the door, but we're not quite there yet, so let's throw a bonfire right on his doorstep. Hello, Mr. Wizard. Alright, find the enemy fortress. Ah, my fears are confirmed. It seems we'll need light crystals to destroy it. Find and use the light crystals to destroy it. Alright. I sense a strange energy just behind your tower. Perhaps you should clear the fog in that area. Alright. Back to bonfire building. Throw one back here. Oh, hey, look at that. Find the ancient ruins. Here it is, a light crystal. Select the ruins and take it. Take crystal. And the wizard has detected the energy of the crystal. Quickly, destroy his tower before it's too late. Alright, let's go back. And okay, he is indeed angry. Very angry boy. So he's sending... Basically, it looks like if you find the crystal, he's going to, send the big, giant guy. I actually am kind of curious to see what he does, but I don't really want to let everyone in. So, alright, let's go ahead and stop messing around and destroy this tower. There we go. Kablamo. And huzzah, victory. You have earned 1 gold coin. Now, so that is how we play Tower Factory. Basically, ramp up production early of wood and stone nodes, making sure to utilize all of the resources that we can, spreading out our factory, and all the while paying attention to the enemies so that they don't break through our tower. Now, the last thing I am going to take a look at in this video is the meta progression system, the upgrade system. So we just now earned a gold coin from the tutorial, and what you can see here is a bunch of things that we could potentially spend them on in the future. So, for example, maximum towers. Increase the max towers amount by 5. The number of towers that we could use was 20 in that tutorial, but if you were to power up, then you could have up to 25. And you will note that if if the game gets very dangerous as you progress, the monsters keep getting more and more numerous, there will be a time when 20 towers is not enough. And another example is unlocks the acorn cannon and the ballista, which are unlocked from the beginning of the game, but you could spend some coins to increase the base damage of your cannons, or to increase the base damage of your ballista. And another thing that we could do is we can simply unlock more towers. Here's a catapult, looks like a big giant AoE guy. And then the spike tower, which looks like it's gonna just sit there and stab everyone. My guess is this thing's gonna fire very quickly relative to everything else, and probably hit everything that's standing there instead of being a single target. So that is what you can do with these gold coins. And now that we know how to play, we are going to take a crack at it in the next video, and I will hope to see you guys there. Hope you guys enjoyed.